We've got issues. None more evident than when it comes to supposedly trusted professionals and big businesses using their social and political biases to attack every facet of this country. And you know, I have been very vocal about this. We have social media platforms censoring free speech, particularly political viewpoints. I've seen this in the last few days. I put up a video about Israel. Choked right down until it disappeared. Media outlets foregoing journalistic integrity in an attempt to sway elections. Institutions of higher education endorsing what I call intellectual rot and allowing activism to supersede what's best for students. Corporations running their own agendas and turning a blind eye to meritocracy. And there is so much more, including now many claiming mental health professionals, with the majority being liberal, bringing their socio-political agendas into therapy sessions, resulting in many conservative therapists feeling attacked and patients feeling the need to censor themselves or forego much-needed treatment completely. Take a look.
My therapist put her political agenda before my mental health.
I created a directory for conservative clients to avoid bias from liberal therapists.
Therapists are being doxxed and canceled based on their own political beliefs.
Therapy has always been my safe place, but I don't have that anymore.
Cancel culture is real for therapists who voice their political opinions online.
Well, is this perception or reality? To see just how prevalent bias is in therapy, we conducted a survey and asked, have you been unable to find a therapist or counselor who can be unbiased about your opinion about social political issues? Shockingly, 34% of respondents said yes. They are unable to find an unbiased therapist. My first guest is Dr. Andrew Hartz. Now, Dr. Hartz is a well-respected clinical psychologist who not only has written numerous published articles on mental health, but is also the founder of the Open Therapy Institute, an organization focused on removing bias from mental health care across the country.
The mental health field has gotten much more biased, especially over the past decade. The focus on identity politics in particular is really starting to dominate training and come into treatment at institutes, hospitals, universities. Where the problem lies is that the field is prioritizing political ideologies and becoming less patient-centered. The Open Therapy Institute is highlighting perspectives and issues that are overlooked in the field because of political bias. Like, if you're dealing with anti-white racial aggression, you're probably self-censoring about it, and you probably feel pretty isolated about it. And maybe you're afraid of speaking up because you think you're gonna get canceled. It's not uncommon for one person to have 5 issues on that chart. I've been at training clinics where I was taught that at the beginning of treatment, the first question is, what are your pronouns? I've also been at places that said that every therapy needed to talk about race. There are some therapists who will actively confront patients about politics. There's also subtler forms of bias where they might just avoid topics or shut down conversations. Research has shown that about 9 out of 10 therapists are liberal, and over time, this has contributed to more people avoiding care altogether. People are impacted by what's happening in the culture, and it comes into the therapy room. So therapists need to be skilled in how to respond to these issues.
It's good to see you. You and I met, gosh, it's been over a year ago, right?
Yeah.
And that happened because I read an article that you had written, and I was so impacted by it that I sent you an email, right?
Yeah.
And commented on what you were doing and how important I thought it was. Talk about what you are doing with Open Therapy and what's the objective and the intent.
So we're addressing socio-political bias throughout mental health care. We're looking at issues that are overlooked because of bias, patient populations that are overlooked because of bias, and different skills therapists need to develop to work with diverse viewpoints.
Why did this hit your radar?
I saw the field becoming intensely politicized, where at the beginning, there wasn't a lot of politics in training, and by the end, it was every week, sometimes every day, of very politicized trainings.
I was trained a long time ago. I remember carrying the stone tablets into. But never was there a focus on political issues, psychosocial issues. It was all clinical. I understand now that parts of the protocol have to do with actually dealing with political issues, at least psychosocial issues that we would never have even thought about being part of the narrative between a client and their therapist.
100%. I mean, the field is losing its focus on patient-centered care. And these new treatment models that are being rolled out are not patient-centered. They prioritize social justice around race, gender, sexuality, other issues above what's in the best interest for the patient. So it's not uncommon for therapists to attack their patients as racist or sexist or move the conversation towards these social justice issues, even when that's not a patient concern.
You've identified 50 to 60 political issues where bias is at play.
So it's people who have aggressively politicized training at work, people who are harassed for their viewpoint or canceled, people who self-censor, masculinity issues, faith-based issues, things that conservative patients might experience in therapy. Some of them are controversial, like women who experience regret about having an abortion. It's not such a rare experience, but it comes up in therapy, and therapists need to be skilled at responding in a patient-centered way to these issues.
I don't want our conversation here to keep people from seeking care.
Right.
I don't want to sensationalize this. I don't want to overblow it, but I'm real strong on giving people a sense that there is a bill of patient rights, and patients have the right to say, what do you do? What's your training? What are my rights? Do I have the right to exclude this?
Right.
Patients have the right to set boundaries, correct?
Yes.
And some therapists have actually said, I can't see you if you embrace certain beliefs. I'm not comfortable with that.
Yeah, some clinics, for example, that just say, we're not supporting Trump voters. That happened to a colleague of mine. So huge chunks of the country that just are being excluded from care at certain places.
If somebody comes in wearing a MAGA hat and somebody says, hey, listen, I just can't help you with your depression. I can't help you with your marital discord. I can't help you with your parenting issues because you're wearing a MAGA hat, and that tells me all I need to know about you. I can't help you. How is that even possible?
Right. I think the field is losing its focus from patient-centered care. And you're right. A decade or two ago, that wouldn't have happened. Something's changed in the field in the past 10 years.
All right. Well, look, we're going to add someone in the conversation in a minute. A teen who says her therapist crossed the line after subjecting her to a shocking political rant. We're going to meet this young woman after the break.
I just had to sit there and listen because I didn't want to aggravate her. I mean, she's someone so close to me. I just sat and let it happen. It was baffling.
Poor sleep impacts productivity, focus, and energy, making it difficult to tackle daily tasks effectively. Tossing and turning through the night leaves many feeling drained and unmotivated. Beam's Dream Powder offers a solution. This science-backed healthy nighttime blend is clinically shown to improve sleep, helping users fall asleep faster, stay asleep longer, and wake up refreshed without grogginess. Dream combines powerful, all-natural ingredients like reishi, magnesium, L-theanine, apigenin, and melatonin, creating a blend designed for consistent, restful nights. It has become an essential part of nightly routines for those seeking better sleep. The ultimate sleep refresh for the new year. Try Beam's best-selling Dream Powder and get up to 40% off for a limited time when you go to shopbeam.com/Dr. Phil and use code Dr. Phil at checkout. That's shopbeam.com/Dr. Phil and use code Dr. Phil for up to 40% off. Well, my next guest, Claire, says as a teen navigating her life, therapy had always been her safe place. But she says that all changed when her trusted therapist of 4 years. Now, let me stop on that. her trusted therapist of 4 years. That means there had been a real investment in this therapeutic relationship. A lot of time spent, a lot of rapport building, a lot of effort and energy into building a trust relationship. A lot of history had gone into this. Changed from offering support to pushing an extreme political agenda. Now, Claire says the betrayal that she felt left her feeling abandoned right before she left for college. She says this was a time that she needed her therapist the most.
My therapist was a mother figure to me. We were really, really close. She's Jewish and I'm pagan, but she never, ever made me feel uncomfortable. In summer 2023, my therapist decided to move her and her whole family to Israel because she didn't feel safe. So once she moved away, we started doing therapy sessions online. In August 2024, she was in San Diego and I was ecstatic. So we met up at the park near my house. And the therapy session was really good up until I started talking about college that I'm going to. Well, I packed everything. She said, I have to tell you something that breaches what we should be saying. I assumed it would be something really heartwarming, and instead she told me that college is basically a scam because all my professors are trying to indoctrinate me and I can't trust anyone but her. It was very heavily political and it made me feel super uncomfortable. My first emotional reaction was anger. You've been my therapist for 4 years and you're gonna ruin it all because you needed to share this political bias with me. Losing a therapist was heartbreaking, but I know I cannot go back to somebody who decides to put their political views and bias before my mental health.
4 years is a lot of investment, right?
Yeah. I think anyone in therapy knows it's so hard to find a good therapist, and it just clicked with her, and I haven't clicked with any therapist like that. She was a mother figure to me, and it's hard to lose that.
Yeah. What happened? What brought it about? I mean, clearly she was giving you all these catastrophic views of going to college.
So she moved into a very politically heavy area. She moved to Israel about a couple weeks before it all started happening, and she had an opportunity to come home, and we had kind of almost stopped seeing each other because I can't really do online therapy. It just doesn't work for me, and the lag, and she didn't seem very connected to me as much. And I saw her, we had a good therapy session, and then she went on a 15-minute rant about how college is a scam and everything that I'm learning is wrong and that I can't believe anyone but her. And I just had to sit there and listen because I didn't want to aggravate her. I mean, she's someone so close to me. I just sat and let it happen.
And she told you not to trust your professors. They're going to brainwash you. The government's behind it all.
Yeah.
That's not okay.
No, I can't see any therapeutic rationale for injecting politics into a session that way.
But there is a place, and tell me if you agree or disagree with this, and I know you will, but there is a place where a therapist, within certain boundaries, you do have relationship building. There is a point where you build some trust, there is some personal disclosure, there is some bonding that takes place. It's not like robot spitting out evidence-based therapy elements. Pop, 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 pop. There has to be some humanizing, what Carl Rogers would call it, empathy, warmth, and genuineness, where there is some human connection that makes it feel real. And you felt that with her, right?
Of course.
There was a connection within boundaries. There has to be some humanizing of the process.
100%. And there are times when therapists make disclosures and it's good for treatment.
They might relate a story or an experience that they've had. It stays client-centered, but they might personalize or humanize to put a face on it to make it real. But to project their values onto someone, it sounded very much like that therapists needed therapy and took it out on you.
Yeah, unfortunately.